But yeah, it's a funny time. How are you keeping motivated to do stuff? Oh, you have work.
Yeah, I've been being dragged into work recently because my work's been trying to ignore what the government's saying for weeks and weeks, and it's only recently have they decided that to start listening to the government.
Don't you work for the government though?
Yeah, which is the
State job, isn't it?
yeah, state job. The internal politics are insane. So
Yeah, it's they
they've been
can't
they've been
micromanage, can they? You can work for the government, but the government has no idea what you're up to.
they've been putting diesel in the petrol engine, and now they're like, oh shit, you know, better start listening to big old Boris.
Yeah, he's made it. He made it.
Boris going into hospital, I feel like that had like a profound effect on my workplace. They were like, "Oh shit, we better start actually listening to the government now."
God, yeah, they could have faked it, but that's just a conspiracy theory. That's obviously nonsense. It wasn't faked at all. But like it's well timed. It's pretty well timed.
All right, how's it going, squad? Welcome to the second episode of Empty Gallery. Everyone said we wouldn't come back for another episode, but here we are. We're back again. I'm joined by my good friend.
Me, Dan, Daniel Suarez, Dan Suarez.
It's Dan Soares, everybody. It's fucking Dan Soares. He's the
Yeah,
man. Obviously,
yeah.
if you were paying
For
attention
like the
last time,
three people who listen to this,
if
hello.
dude, we got quite a few views last time. It wasn't just
Actually, yeah,
free.
we did.
Like we
Yeah,
got we
it
got
was pretty good.
downloads as well of Podbean. I think we got one
Download.
download. Yeah, somebody
Oh,
downloaded
it
the
really
podcast.
makes me feel really weird knowing that someone's downloaded me talking and they're listening to me talking.
Yeah, man. No, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. Obviously, I'm Henry Pucknell, everybody. In case you weren't listening last time. And in this episode, me and Dan thought we would talk about motivation. What with coronavirus, blah, 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 blah. A lot of people have been
Self-isolation.
furloughed from work. I learned what the word furloughed means. Furloughed means when you get sent home from work and you're still paid at least 80% of your salary. And they're like, people are struggling with the motivation of like getting out of bed and having a shower and playing video games, you know? However, artists have the advantage of having a motivation outside of work, which is making art. So my good friend Daniel Soares has been making a lot of art recently. Because Dan, you're not at work at the moment, are you? So
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. They just kind of got rid of me because I was on my probationary period, and I was just like, all right, fine. And I'm loving the free time. I haven't had this much free time since my gap year, in between
gap
college,
year.
between foundation and uni. So this is a really good opportunity, man. Like I hope, obviously I don't hope, but I really like having free time and I want it to go on
Yeah,
quite
I
a
just got
while.
back from a
I
week
mean, I
off
don't
work.
like, if coronavirus has gone tomorrow, that'd be good, but I'm liking the free time.
Yeah, the free time's sick. I just got back from a week off work myself, and I got loads of stuff done. I got loads of stuff done. A lot of web development tutorials, a lot of art stuff. It was good. It was good. Built a home gym with the stuff that
Yeah.
came through the post. It was good.
I mean, people are, we don't have like, I mean, it's so surprising being going on Instagram or whatever and seeing what people are up to. People are really doing some really silly stuff. It's really fun. People are like TikToking and they're doing all kinds of just weird shit. They're sending each other weird challenges to do over stories. I got challenged to down a drink, and I'm gonna just down a glass of water because I can't drink alcohol. So
I saw one where it was a challenge to dress your dog while you're blindfolded, and he had these two like Rottweilers like running around and then
what do
like trying to
dogs
put
wear?
clothes on them and yeah,
What the hell do dogs wear anyways?
yeah, like a jumper, I guess. So ever since we graduated uni, me and Dan have been sort of talking about motivation and what motivates us. A lot of people who graduate art school, not to hate on them or anything, but they just stop making work dead. I had a friend, and she was like, "I just want to get first. I just want to get first, and then I'll be happy." She got her first, and then art production just stops dead. Whereas for me, times in my life where I've stopped making art, I just start to feel quite depressed. So it's like
Yeah.
something that I like have to do. I remember during second year, I was like, "Oh shit, what am I gonna do when I finish art school? You know, like, am I gonna be able
You're
to get a
already
job
thinking
out
about
of it
that in second
afterwards?"
year.
Like, yeah, yeah. Towards the end of second year, I was like, "Oh, my oldest brother did art, and he came out in the
The
yeah
banking.
he came out in the 2008 recession and really
I don't
struggled to
even
get a
know
job."
why that happened still.
And I was like, "Oh shit, that's gonna be me," you know. And I was really worried during second year as well. What if I just stop making art completely when I finish university? What if it's all for nothing? But what I didn't realize is that I'm mental and I can't stop making art because I'll become depressed. So I think that's kind of what separates people who continue to
Stick
make
with
work
it.
and people who stop making work.
It's about how deeply ingrained it is in you. Like
Yeah,
you're just doing it because you want like a grade and a degree. That's like totally. It's not that it's the wrong reason. There's no wrong reason. It's just that that's just you're not gonna last. You're not. I mean, that's not your intention. If that's, I mean, if it's not your intention in life to become to make art all the time, then it's not. It doesn't have to be. Um, I find that the people who do stick with it are the people who are like really mentally. How can we think of a PC word? So I'm about to say the R word. I'm about to say the A word. But Richard Wentworth said this when he came and did a talk at UCA with us. He said that you just the people who are like really autistic about it, really like have mental like it gives them like mental issues just thinking about it. And all the greats did, you know, like I followed like I read into the careers of like Dali and Francis Bacon, and these people are neurotic, neurotic. I mean, I got a third, man. And when they gave me my grade, I just had a massive go at the tutors who were doing it. I didn't have a go at them. I just had a massive rant about something. And then I said, fuck this shit anyway. It doesn't really matter what grade I get. I know I'm neurotic enough to keep going with it. And I did. And I still am. And I'm just like, it's a very, I'm sort of, it's like I don't give a fuck, but also at the same time, I'm very obsessed. Couldn't live with myself. I didn't see if I didn't do this. Like, it's very hard to.
yeah. People get weirded out by obsessions,
Yeah.
but
So they're
becoming
too obsessed.
obsessed is like how you become successful at something.
I think so. Hopefully, anyway.
Yeah, 100%. But no, no, no. I'm exactly the same as Dan. In the same boat. In that my degree piece had so many problems. I got it finished, but I didn't get it finished in time for the deadline, so I got kind of slaughtered in terms of marking as well. And like, I literally didn't give a shit because my degree piece looked fucking sick at the end. And
Mm,
even when the tutors came up to me and said, "Doesn't matter about the grade; it matters about what you're gonna do next after this."
yeah.
And here I am, still making art. You know, people who got first, not doing anything, not doing any art.
Yeah. It's the it's the neuroticism that drives you, isn't it? And the issue is I'm trying to manage it now, really, because I've realized that I've with all this free time, I've managed to do a lot of self-reflection, which I think most people are being forced to do right now. They're thinking like, oh, should I have gone on that trip? Like, as in, like, should I have like traveled the world like a few years ago? Like, should I have like done whatever great thing I should have done? People are having a lot of I should have done this, I should have done that. Um, what was I gonna say? For me, it's more like I'm just thinking a lot about how the fuck this stuff's going because I've started my journey. I started my journey a long time ago, so I'm not in the position of a lot of people who still haven't started a journey towards something. I started it ages ago, and and I have to like assess where the hell I am every couple of years, and every couple of years, every couple of weeks, whenever I have to. The issue is like when you're at work all the time and you're doing that. you have very little time to self-reflect, and time is really precious. And now I have all the time in the world to self-reflect, and I've managed to kind of realize where I'm fucking up. The issue is that your psychological problems are going to hold you back, I think. And if you don't overcome them, then it's going to be very hard to do well in this, I think. So I've made a breakthrough this week. I managed to sell like 4 prints, and I'm on the verge of selling an original painting, and that's a first for me. And I had to overcome all my issues with money. I had a lot of issues with money. Like my parents are really tight with money. Like I don't come from a rich family at all. Like I've sort of been told by my family that like I'll never make much money doing this, which is something that which hurts quite a bit, but also it makes me more determined. I wasn't brought up around money, so because of that, I'm not natural with it. I'm not a natural at sales or anything, or trying to get people to give me money for stuff. So it's something I had to learn. And the thing is, if you're working all full time at Pizza Express, you don't have much time to learn that, and the time gets eaten away by trying to pay rent. So
Yeah, I think me and Dan, I think we might talk about this in another episode, the kind of work-life balance with art, because it's something that everyone struggles with, something that I've struggled with, having a work-life balance, because art is just so time-consuming. At the moment, me and Dan were talking earlier, I produce a piece of work about every 6 months, one piece of work, because the process I'm working on now is very labor intensive. I'm working on a triptych at the moment, and the hilarious thing is, when I set out to start it, I'm so bad at time management. I was just like, actually, I just got out of making this sculpture, which took 6 months to make and was an absolute
yeah,
nightmare. And with this triptych, I was like, well, I'm going to keep them in the scale like A4, like a bit longer than A4, because that'll be quick to make. Little did I
yeah.
know it was going to be incredibly labor intensive, and each piece of work would take about 6 months to make.
How long would it take you to make if you didn't have a day job? Like if
Oh
you didn't have
shit!
to have a day job?
That was the thing. Like when we studied at university, making art was our day job. So when we had people that we were studying with who were like, "Oh, I can't get inspired," or a lot of the time I was in the studio completely on my own, and I used to think to myself, if you can't come in and make work when you have no distraction from a day job, how are you possibly going to make work when you do get a day job when you finish?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Because everyone has to get a day job when they finish.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Of
you
course.
need to be motivated enough and making work that you're excited about making that
The
will
thing
enable
is like
you
this is
to
yeah,
work when you get home from work and you're tired.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is this is for me. It's the degree I chose to do, and there was a lot of the pressure on that puts a lot of pressure on it. First of all, because I could have picked a degree doing anything, and like literally, I did quite well in my GCSEs, and I could have done well in my A levels. I just decided not to. But like the way I see it is like if you're going to do a degree in something, then automatically you're deciding to take that thing seriously. And but some people obviously they do an art degree. It's just a cop out. It's not a cop out. It's just like it's just something fun to do. You know, some people don't see an art degree as a real undertaking. I think some people just do it for the fun of it. I don't know.
Recently, in terms of motivation, I've been thinking though, like when I had my week off, I was setting specific goals for each day. I was saying, okay, so this day I'm entirely going to focus on coding. This day I'm entirely going to focus on making art stuff. And then this day I'm going to take a day off and build some fucking Warhammer because that's what I want to do.
Dude, I've been reading this again. I've been reading The War of Art again
Yeah, one book me and Dan 100% recommend is The War of Art.
by Stephen Pressfield.
Yeah, I've got the audio recording on Audible, and Dan's got the actual book. But he goes to great pains to explain the concept of resistance and a lot of artists are paralyzed by resistance. Most painters don't paint. Most writers don't even write.
Yeah.
They're completely put off by the process, and everything else in their life gets in the way.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. That's
the part of
100%
the book I
spot
love
on.
the most is when he explained his writing process. He's got like a cabin in the woods, and he says
Yeah,
he works from 11 until 4 p.m. And he says, "Did I
yeah,
produce anything in that time that was important? I don't give a shit. All I care about is that I put my hours in." And I was really
yeah,
thinking about that during my week off. I was like, I was producing like a fair amount of work, and I was really happy about I was getting these coding tutorials done and learning more about JavaScript. But then at the same time, I was like, you know what? Am I why am I not this productive during the week when I have my day job? It's because I'm not rotering myself in to complete a specific task on a specific day. Like during my working week, I'm at the gym Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. I'm at the gym for 2 hours or 2.5 hours each session. I go there, I get the workout done, and I come home. I need to apply the same working methodology to art and other interests. So, say I'm at the gym Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. That means Wednesday I need to be in the studio all night, switch my phone off. I just make work. I'm work on art stuff.
yeah.
And then maybe the Friday, because my friends don't tend to go out a lot on Fridays. We tend to hang out the weekend instead. And Friday
I
night,
enjoy it.
you've got this you've got quite a nice jubilant feeling because you're looking forward to the weekend, and it's a
Mm.
great time to like use that momentum motivation to do something productive. I could work on a coding tutorial on the Friday, you know.
You could basically not go out with your friends and do something productive, basically. Like that's what I sacrifice a lot of my social life for this. I basically have Yeah, I sacrifice a lot of my social life, unfortunately. I try to balance it out though. Like I'm trying really hard to kind of not feel like I'm forcing a social, like, oh, these are my social hours now, but like trying to feel like it's as natural as possible because I've sacrificed so much of it. Um, what I need is not to sacrifice it, but to let it just be what it is, I think, which is a hard thing to explain, and I'm not going to really try to explain it. It's my own complication. But the thing is, it's basically when I do when I do take the hours out, because I think about this all the time. It's like when I do say, right, now I have to go to work. I allow myself and I expect myself to smash my head against a wall for like at least an hour of that. So that means, and it comes, and I don't plan. A lot of that time is totally unplanned, unstructured work. I am smashing my head against the wall for a lot of it. I'm distracted for a lot of it too. Like for a lot of it, like I'll do loads of drawings, but then afterwards I'll just be like, oh, right, just one quick game of FIFA or just watch this a couple of YouTube videos. And then I'll just catch myself and I'll be like, no, go back to doing the art, go back to drawing, go back to doing that stuff. That's the productive stuff. That's the stuff you actually really enjoy doing, and you'll be kicking yourself if you don't do it. Like the thing is, when I do get a really productive day done, and I get the ball rolling, it gets easier and I get less distracted and I feel so much better about myself. Like I can actually sleep at night. If I don't do it, then I can't sleep at night actually, and I actually can't. That's not actually an exaggeration.
Yeah, no, 100%. I can relate as well. You need to get that momentum going, and then it becomes easier and easier to become less distracted. That's why getting up really early is really important. Like at the
Yeah,
weekends at the moment, I'm trying to get up at 6:30, and then before I even have breakfast, I'm like going to do something productive. Going to do something that motivates me to get out of bed. Like I might get up and play computer games for like half an hour or an hour, and then I'm kind of energized and I have breakfast and I can go straight to the studio and get on with some work.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you do feel a lot better after you've done something productive as opposed to sort of scrolling through YouTube or Facebook endlessly. Like I always feel
God.
amazing after gym workouts. I always feel great after I've put some time into art stuff or making Warhammer.
My issue is that a lot of my time now, because I don't have a gallery deal, obviously, and no one does. No one has a gallery deal. A lot of our time is spent doing stuff outside of art anyway. So a lot of my time is spent doing like posting things on Instagram, doing website stuff, editing website stuff, making products. As in, like, there's one thing making art, and I can sit there and doodle and draw all the time, but on the back of my mind, it's like, right, I need to actually make some money out of this. So these days, a lot of what I'm doing is like, I'm trying to turn what I've produced, like whatever it is, a drawing or a painting, I'm trying to turn it into a consumable object, like a thing that someone can give me money for, whether that's a print or a painting or something. The way I do that is like I found all these like print on demand services that will take your photograph and get it printed for you, and they'll send it to whoever bought. They'll send it to your customer straight away. And then there's this other thing I do where I take little snippets out of my sketchbook and I just enlarge them, edit them, and I say, "Oh, this is a print now," and they're pretty cool though. But yeah, there's a the thing is the distraction of having to do the marketing and the sales yourself. It takes you away from doing the actual artwork. I mean, it's part of it as well, and it's an important part of it. But when you're at university, it seems that the only thing that you actually spend your time doing is the art, and no one really prepares you for the reality of having to package yourself and sell yourself to others. And once you leave art uni, a lot of your time is spent trying to sell yourself to others, and that's quite hard to accept because you never thought that it was a part of the process. But that's sort of part of the creative process, I guess. I guess you can have fun with it if you accept it, but it takes a
Dude,
while
dude,
to
dude.
accept.
No, I remember we had a single lesson on websites.
Yeah, one lesson in
Yeah.
3 years. He didn't talk about anything much, as far as I remember. You could probably sign up for a Squarespace account and look at all the Squarespace tutorial videos and read through the Squarespace blog, which they probably have, and learn a hell of a lot more. Yeah, they didn't. I'm not saying them. I'm not shitting on our old school. Like, not at all. They were great. They were the best. But um, I think all art unis have this problem. It's this kind of apathy towards telling artists what they really need to hear in terms of selling themselves, marketing themselves, and making money and managing money. Because the fucking consensus is that, like, oh, go to private views and get into the galleries. Look, dude, there's all right. As an example, there's one artist for every 100 galleries or something like that. Wait, no, one gallery for every million artists, thousands of artists. No one's getting a gallery deal now. No one, absolutely no one. So you got to do your own thing. You could get something, sure. Good luck. Um, but I don't know the answer to that. So I mean, I guess you're supposed to if you socialize a lot, if you go out to these to if you're in the right place at the right time, it can happen. And yeah, I mean, if you spam galleries and you really go for it, yeah, that's a good thing. But dude, like this, it'll take a long time. I hear that the time it takes from meeting a gallery owner and getting your first show, you don't get your first show. What you get is you get put into a group show, and then actually getting some money out of this the whole ordeal. It's like 2 years or 3 years or something. So, and you get one
Yeah,
show a year, and then they have to sell your work, and you have to cooperate with them. Um,
yeah, and going off what you were saying as well, there's so many artists out there. Galleries tend to have a kind of taste. They have something that they're looking for, and there's such a massive sea of artists that they could probably sort of dip into the pond and get exactly what they're after straight away. It reminds me of bringing up the time that me and Dan met at the London Art Fair again. Remember we went to that one stall and they had like a book, like a blue book. I've still got it. I'll have to fish it out and bring it up on the next episode. And it was sort of up
oh
and coming
yeah,
artists to look out for.
very
And
nice
and
little
remember
book.
we both talked to him. We were like, oh, we're from UCA. Do you ever come down our way, see anything that we're making? And the lady like was like completely like stony face, like completely unexcited, just like, oh
Then
yeah,
think of
sometimes
the idea.
yeah. And then we
Look,
looked in the book. We looked at the book. It was all artists who live in London or who go to the Glasgow School of Art, and some of the work in there was fucking trash. Like it was trash work. It was like someone like,
mm,
oh, I built a sculpture out of traffic cones. It's like, really?
yeah, done
Like,
that, seen that, done that myself probably as well. Yeah, you see, the thing is, yeah, it's not about the quality of the work, it's about being in the right place at the right time because you'll see, an artist who studies at a uni that's well out of town, and they'll be making something, and then you'll see an artist that's making the exact same thing, like the exact same thing, except they're doing it and they're getting a degree show in Goldsmiths University. They're getting their degree show there, and whereas the other person is getting a degree show in wherever the hell middle of nowhere university. So yeah, that's the difference, man. I mean, the idea, like, if you think about it from the perspective of these loaded people, these gallery owners in London, the idea of going out of town, way out of town to a university and to look at the art of a load of early 20-year-olds is a really shitty. That sounds like a really shit idea to them. I bet. Like, what? I'm gonna go all the way there just to. No, I'm in London. It's like the best place for it. There's like 7 unis here. It's just place and time. I mean, I was pretty. I'll be honest with you. I was pretty gutted that I didn't get my place at Goldsmiths, and where else did I apply? It was Chelsea, Goldsmiths. I should have just applied to all of them, but yeah, I'm pretty gutted, man, because it affected the way I did everything after that. And I did a placement in Vienna, which is not the biggest city in the world, but I spent 4 months there and I got a show, and I met a lot more people than I met a lot of people. And like in Farnham, I didn't really meet anyone. I just met friends, which was valuable. But um, you know, in Farnham, there's no galleries, so you didn't network. You didn't have industry links. You had no industry links, basically. I think
Yeah,
they're trying to develop that a bit now, though. The uni's really trying to like pull people from London into because Farnham's not that far. It's just it must be a real ordeal to get these people into the university. That's the thing.
yeah. I don't really put much stake in organizations anyway. My older sister went to Goldsmiths to do a foundation, and I was like, oh, really prestigious. How was it? And she just said, uh, sat around painting, and sometimes they had visiting artists who'd swan around and look over your shoulder, and that was that. You know, I don't think you got a higher quality education going to an art uni in London.
Oh
It's
no,
just
neither do I.
as you
Neither do
say,
I.
um,
Anything worse?
it was just yeah, probably worse. Yeah, probably worse than what we got.
No, definitely worse.
However, yeah, as you say, like the connections are pretty better. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, the connect. It's just the connect. It's just having the ability to get out your front door and go to an opening or to meet like 100 other artists. That's the difference. Like when I was at UCA, we didn't exactly have that. We left the door and we got together and had got pissed up, which was great fun anyway. I wouldn't trade that for anything. But yeah, yeah, it really changes the way. I mean, I don't know. I thinking back, I don't know what kind of situation I'd be in now if there's all these other choices I could have made. Anyway, you just gotta keep going. Doesn't matter.
Don't be
Always,
paralyzed
there's,
by
I
choice.
mean, yeah, there's always choices to make. The main thing is going on that journey towards achieving that goal and growing in the process, overcoming the hurdles and growing in the process.
But of
That
course,
motivates me to do everything. That motivates me to do bloody everything. Nothing else really apart from that.
yeah, an important thing about motivation as well is you really need to love or be really excited about the work that you're making. I think my problem at the moment is the triptych I've been working on. I've kind of burnt out a bit. I've lost a bit of steam. I
Mm.
tend to take on really work intensive pieces of work, and then I just burn myself out on them. You really need to be really excited about your work. You need to be like really excited to get back into the studio to work on something.
I think you need to do you know what you need to do with that piece of work? I think you need to kind of trash it.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. That would kill
It's
me.
a it's a spiritual process. It's a spiritual thing. Like just destroy it and be like, right, now I'm free and I can do whatever I want now. I don't know. It's like it's got you handcuffed, mate. It's like it owns you. You maybe need to don't know, man, abandon it and make something smaller. And I've done that before, man. I've made loads of paintings and then been like, fuck, just gonna throw these in the bin now because I wasn't fully because I don't know, they just weren't right. So maybe it's the materials you're using. It doesn't. It's not. I don't. Are you enjoying it? I don't know.
I think
Explain
it's a
that.
twofold problem. I
Explain that.
think
Explain that. What do you enjoy making then? What do you enjoy?
I think it's a twofold problem. Problem one is I think you need to rotor in time every week to make work,
Yeah.
especially when you work full time, have a full time job as well. I don't think you can approach it from an angle of I'm gonna go make work when I want to make work. I think when you have a full time job and you take that kind of attitude, you're not gonna be putting in the time to make decent progress. Sort of stalled in terms of that aspect, but also have stalled in the aspect that it's so labor intensive it's so labor intensive and difficult that I kind of don't want to take on the challenge. But I can
Uh,
overcome those two things and finish the piece of work. I am going to finish the piece of work, and I've
you got
learned
to
a
press
lot
on.
about making work from working on this piece of work as well. And so ultimately, it's going to be a net gain. And I've got ideas for piece of work to make after this one, which I think will be quicker, which will be good.
You got to press on. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, you always get being getting down in the middle of the process of making a piece is part of the process itself. I've
Yeah,
got
100%.
I've got this huge monster of a canvas next to me that I haven't finished, and I told myself a few days ago I was going to finish it on that day, and I should have known at the time that that wasn't going to happen, but you can't know that, and so I went. I've got it here on the side, and today I told myself I'd finish it. I might even finish it tonight, but the thing is it's like you have to just you sort of have to put a gun to your own head and force yourself to finish it if it's something like that. Um,
Yeah, 100%.
I
You have to
don't.
put a gun to your head and force yourself to finish stuff.
This is why I don't mind just doing my process-based stuff as well. Sometimes, like sometimes I'll do my doodles, my sketchbook work because it's just pure process. There's no finished outcome involved. It's just drawing stuff on like bits of paper. I don't have any expectations. There's no expectation. In terms of what I expect to. There's no pressure, I'm not expecting anything great to come out of doing it. I'm just doing it because I enjoy doing the process. I enjoy the process of doodling and writing, scribbling things on paper, and I'm not trying to make anything. But in the end, when I look over through the sketchbook, I'm like, oh, there's actually pretty cool stuff in here, and there's things that I can maybe blow up and edit and modify and make into respectable pieces of art, maybe. But yeah, mainly though, that's not it.
Yeah, that's why it's so important, I think, to. I'm the definition of someone who works hard but doesn't always work smart when he's making art. Like, I'll work on something really hard for a week and I'll burn myself out and I won't make any work for and I won't touch it again for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Whereas, really, you want to block out 2 hours after work, 1 day a week, and just say you're not fucking going anywhere until you've done your 2 hours.
Yeah,
And then you can work through the difficult parts of a piece of work and then build up the momentum and get to the bits that you're excited about. Like at the moment, I'm working on the difficult part of my composition, but I know when that's done, it's going to be time for the fun stuff, and then it'll be like a race to the finish line. It will finish really quickly.
yeah, that's fun. That's interesting. We work very differently because the way I do it is the way I handle the difficult parts. Because like what you just said there about like handling the difficult bit to then get to the exciting bit. The way I handle the difficult parts is I try to make sure that there are as few of them as possible, and I try to make them as easy to do as possible. So I have a big issue right now with like painting, because I'm quite a good not figurative, I'm quite good at representational painting and representational drawing, but the effort it takes to do is just absolutely exhausting.
Yeah,
It's
100%. This piece of work I've been working on, it's only 1 point perspective, but it started out as like a collage from an existing photo, and I've heavily edited it and changed the perspective, and I've drawn loads of perspective lines, and the bottom part of the composition has to have a big grid because it's covered in loads of ceiling tiles
Oh, well, if
that
it
are
was
at
me,
different angles, and I want
I
the
would have just
perspective
drawn
to
it
look
all in a
correct,
pencil.
and yeah, it's just a bit of a nightmare. But I know once I've got past the nightmare, it will be a lot easier. I've
Okay.
planned out
Yeah.
in Photoshop. Photoshop is like an amazing tool at planning compositions. I've learned from this piece
Oh,
of work.
I can't get into Photoshop. I haven't tried per se, but just when I look at Photoshop, I get brain freeze, and I just have to just close the application down. Unfortunately,
You just need to watch some nasally YouTube
no, I don't.
tutorials where they're like,
No,
"This is
no,
how
I don't.
you make a perspective grid in
I
Facebook
don't.
and
I don't have to watch any of
Photoshop."
that shit. All I need is someone to do it for me, or someone to sit next to me and show me exactly how to do it, like hold my hand with it. But yeah, man, I have these issues with with the paintings. It's like whenever I'm confronted with a situation where I have to draw detail and I have to like draw something in great detail, I'm just like, just, I just don't want to. I can, I can do it. I've got a painting of a fruit bowl somewhere on my Instagram feed, but man, is it just not worth the time? And it makes for a very boring bit of artwork. Oh, look at this! It looks exactly. Look at this painting of the fruit bowl. It looks exactly like real fruit bowl. Wow, exciting! That says a lot about nothing. I like art that says something about something, I guess. But yeah, I'm working on these other compositions which have. I have to force them out though. Like one's gonna have like Satan and then some nymphs and that kind of shit. But I have to put the effort into painting a Satan, which is going to be not easy. I mean, how do I force it?
You're basically painting hellscapes at the moment. It's wicked. I'm kind of
Hellscape,
painting. I'm kind of
hellscape, hellscapes.
yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting word.
They like your scape, your landscape where it's got the sex toys in it really reminds me of the abstract imaginings of hell, where there's all the nymphs and demons and stuff crawling around it.
By
Yeah, Dan, your paintings at the moment really remind me of Hieronymus Bosch's paintings of the
Hieronymus Bosch.
Hieronymus Bosch of the hellscapes. On this podcast, I'm going to be the one who constantly butchers names, and Dan's going to be the one that corrects me. It's a thing we got going.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, big time, big time. That painting you did of the sex toys on the landscape with the little people dancing in between, yeah, that's totally the Garden of Earthly Delights, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Garden of Earthly Delights was a pretty influential painting for me. I think everyone at art school ends up looking at Bosch eventually, but if you look at the surrealists, from an early age, which everyone eventually does, I think, anyway. Surrealist art is really similar to Bosch's work. It's just, here's the ground, here's the sky, and here's all the fucked up things that we can imagine to put in it. And it's just a fucked up, crazy world when you're doing surrealist artwork. And surrealism really, I think surrealism is the sort of not the I'm trying to think of a word, not the Godfather because we're not talking about an individual here, but surrealism is like the big influential movement of modern art, of contemporary art. Just the process that it takes to make a surrealist artwork is just exemplifies contemporary art. I think it's right. Let's take down the boundaries of our imagination. Let's take down let's remove all limitations. Let's yeah, let's remove all limitations and make it a free for all, and that's contemporary art, I think.
It's funny because my work at the moment, I'm doing all landscapes as well, and I'm kind of creating hellscapes. I'm kind of turning the office landscape into a hellscape as a way of critiquing kind of office culture and the politics of the workplace, etc.
Is that really what you're doing with that though? Like that's a lot to put into an art piece, that kind of idea. Like it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying. It'll be up to the viewer to decide whether or not I've been successful. And I
That's one
think
thing I've stopped doing, to be honest, with my work. Like I've stopped with the big ideas actually. I
the
just
next piece
realized
of
that I
work,
can't influence people.
I think the next piece of work I make, I've got an idea to make a sculpture, and I think it's going to put those ideas across a lot more simply. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
looking. I'm kind of really excited about making this sculpture at the moment, but I've got to get this triptych done first.
Sculpture. Yeah, but dude, these are all ideas on paper, man. I find that when I have ideas on paper, I never get around to them. But it's nice to have, to be honest. What I've realized is that even though is that you have to have ideas on paper anyway. It's like your unconscious mind kind of dumping something. It's still part of the process of making art. It starts off as an idea, and then whether or not you actually go ahead and get on with that idea is different. What's important is that there's a motivation, there's an interest to do more. And what you might do is you might think, okay, I'm going to make this sculpture, and you might pick up the materials necessary, but then you'll make something completely the opposite of what you thought you'd make. Which is that's what gives me the liberty to just do what I want with this stuff, because I know that I have very limited control over what comes out at the end. And it's very hard. I mean, I'm not perfect. I mean, you have to recognize that during that the part of the process is also getting to a point where you're really obsessed with this outcome, and you're really trying to you're like, oh yes, no, 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 I'm gonna make it like this. This is how it's gonna look great, great. And then realizing just after that that like, no, that was a crap idea. It doesn't look good at all. And then doing something, and then out of nowhere, yeah. So what I was saying is, you have this great idea, and but you have to accept that the outcome is free of that idea. The outcome, you can't have control over the outcome. And but whilst you're making the art, your mind is gonna trick you into thinking that you've got a really good idea, and that you need to do these little things in order to get it to the way that you want it to be. But you end up doing that, and it looks crap, and so you need to shuffle things. And it's not worth getting upset. What you basically do is you realize that you were wrong, and that you need to clean up the mess you just made. And in that process you end up stumbling, and by accident you create the artwork. You're like, oh, this is shit, I did it. Oh, look at that, it actually looks good, I've done it.
Yeah,
um
and I think it's important to have a regular output. I think you
and
need to be
experimentation, you need
a
to
lot of
be free
experimentation.
with it.
Yeah, it's important to have experimentation in the sketchbook, and always and be excited about what you're making. And I think really you need to be making a new piece of work every 3 months minimum.
Don't be attached to the outcomes. That's the main thing. And be experimental and free loving. I don't know, free flowing, free,
There's a
think
balance.
freely
There's
about
a
it.
balance because I think if you're kind of too experimental and you do too much sketchbook work, you can make like a lot of just bits of paper. Like when I was at
That's
uni,
what
I did
exactly what I do.
I did a lot of drawings that kind of went nowhere, and really I should have focused more on having hard outcomes. But I think
Yeah.
there's a balance. There's definitely
Oh,
like a
I could talk
balance,
about this
and
for
I
a day.
think the balance is you should be making a finished outcome, like a finalized piece of work, once every 3 months, because that's four new pieces of work a year. Then I feel like that's
Yeah, but
fairly
why?
minimum to
Why?
keep up the momentum, like what we were talking about. You've got to keep up momentum of making a piece of work, being excited to get it finished. Once it's finished, it's done, it's out of the way, then you can get excited about the next piece of work. You don't want to get into a position like me where you're only making one new piece of work every 6 months because it's shudders the momentum.
Yeah. I mean, I make things quite rapidly, so
Yeah. And that means you've got
I
a
made
very
an
good
issue of
momentum.
it. I made a thing. I made a thing of doing that. I made a real effort to do that. That took I have moments like I have spurts of creativity, and then I have a lot of, not procrastination, I have little breaks. I mean, I don't know, what I need to do is have the creativity gone for longer, and then never take a break really, and then one day take a break on purpose, just be like, right, I've done with this, take like a 2 year break. But yeah, yeah, the spurts of creativity, I don't know, whatever.
Breaks are important, but they shouldn't be. You shouldn't be taking breaks because you get burnout. You really want to avoid burnout. Warhammer painters talk about this. In the Warhammer community, burnout is where you paint like 20 guardsmen, 50 guardsmen, and you just get sick of doing painting your guardsmen, and then you get
Yeah,
burnout and you don't want to go back to painting. You get burnout when you're working through quite like a difficult piece of work, and you're like, oh, I gotta keep working on it, gotta keep working on it.
I
Like when
get
I
that
was
with oil
making
painting.
my sculpture, Your Thoughts, back in 2018, that was not like a glamorous process at all. Us cutting it all out on a scroll saw, and it was taking ages. I was spending whole weekends just sanding pieces down, learning, making loads of mistakes basically, and being like, oh, I could have done it fast this way, could have done it faster this way.
I
Really, I
feel
should have just got
very
the whole thing
lazy.
laser cut. And afterwards, I got really bad burnout from making that piece of work. I didn't make anything for a few months after that. So that's something that you
Mm,
really want to avoid. Maybe it's unavoidable sometimes. I think that's the importance of working smart when you're working on a piece of work.
mm, yeah.
Sometimes you have to kind of put yourself through hell to learn important lessons, though.
Sometimes, I think every time,
Yeah,
to be honest, to be quite actually honest, every
but
time.
you don't want to. I feel like you don't want to. It can't be so bad that when you're done with the piece of work, you hate it. Like I hated that
Mm.
sculpture when I was finished with it. But maybe next time we exhibit, I've had enough distance from it. I'll be able to look at it a bit more objectively. I want to get my sculpture
I
into
have
a
a way of
gallery.
dealing with the ones that I hate, though. The things that I hate, I will I will destroy them.
You destroy paintings.
I will liquidate them. Yeah, man. If I don't like it, I'll paint over it. I'll paint white on it, and I'll start again. Yeah.
I like that sculpture. I like that sculpture a lot. Yeah, I do really like it. And I think once I exhibit again in the gallery, I'll be really proud of it. But at the time when I was putting it up in the gallery, I was proud of it. But when I looked at it as well, I could see the hell I'd gone through to make it as well. So it was a bit of a dichotomy.
Yeah. Well, I think it was good.
Ah, cheers,
Uh,
man. Cheers, cheers, cheers.
you just
Anyway,
next.
folks, I think that's all we've got time for. Thanks for
That's a wrap.
joining me and Dan again for another episode. Sorry we're a little bit late with this one, and hopefully we'll get the next one out sometime next week. So if you'd like to follow us and see our work, you can find my work, Henry Pucknell, at henrypucknell.com, or just search Henry Pucknell Art on Facebook. Dan, where can people find your stuff?
DanielSuarez.co.uk or Daniel Suarez Art on Facebook. The links are in the bottom, and follow this channel by subscribing, hit the like button, and hit the bell as well if you want to get a notification for the next episode.
Yeah, we've got like subscribers. Thanks for subscribing, guys. It's pretty wicked so far.
It is pretty wicked.
Dan, describe your practice in 3 seconds. One,
Oh, I
two,
make paintings and
three.
drawings.
Yeah. Henry, what do you do? Abstract constructivist art. That was 3 seconds, wasn't it?
Yep. You
Fucking
say the same
sick.
thing every time.
I do, yeah. Well,
Means you've decided.
yeah.
Are you sure?
We like to have
You're
a
sure about
bit of
that?
mystery on this show. Okay, thanks, guys.